But first, the trouble with the Liberals tearing themselves to pieces over climate policy is that they're meanwhile letting the Albanese government's most dangerous minister, Chris Bowen, get away with yet more lunatic green schemes. Now, I'll show you the Climate Change and Energy Minister's latest two brainwaves. One of them so mad that you wonder how Bowen still has a job. But before that, it is important to remind the Liberals that they're now paying the price of their cowardice. They're paying the price for trying to please the mob with net zero when they knew the mob was wrong. And that's why, of course, Liberal leader Susan Lee is finished and the Liberals split and suffering the worst ever polls. The Liberals should have realised years ago the danger of this just going with the flow instead of defending facts and reasons. They should have learned from 1998 when Liberal Prime Minister John Howard banned nuclear power, despite knowing it made no sense. Now, Howard did it just to get the Greens to agree in exchange to a new reactor for Lucas Heights, producing radioisotopes for medical treatments and industry. But you look at the hell that caused the Liberals at the last election when they said they now wanted to scrap that nuclear ban. They just looked like opportunists, shifty. And now it's the same catastrophe all over again with net zero, only worse. Susan Lee and the Liberals are tipped to soon drop this target of cutting our carbon dioxide emissions to zero net by 2050 because that target isn't even possible and the cost of trying is horrendous. Your power bills are soaring, heavy industry is going out of business, and it's all for nothing anyway. Australia cannot change the climate by anything anyone can measure. But here is the problem. The same Liberals now apparently about to demand we scrap net zero are the same ones who just 4 years ago said, net zero, it's great. You see, back then, Liberal Prime Minister Scott Morrison decided net zero was so popular that the Liberals had better back it.
Our new official target of reaching net zero emissions by 2050, we need to protect against the threats. Our plan for net zero by 2050 is the plan that I believe Australians want.
That's the same Scott Morrison who today says net zero must be scrapped. But worse is that Susan Lee herself 4 years ago also said yes to net zero.
I think we should achieve net zero. I think it is absolutely achievable. I believe, as someone who's been a farmer for a great part of my life and represented farmers in Western New South Wales, that it is the direction we need to take.
So who will believe her today if this new Liberal leader tells us that net zero is bad? Trust her, she's a farmer. And it's not just her. Her energy spokesman, Dan Tehan, who'd have to sell scrapping the net zero target, he was also demanding net zero 4 years ago as Trade Minister.
The world has moved and we need to move as well. We can move towards net zero, keeping our economy strong.
It's the same story with Angus Taylor, who's now tipped to replace Lee and is demanding no to the net zero target. 4 years ago as Industry Minister, he said yes.
The vision here is to take practical action to achieve net zero by 2050. When we say we're going to do something, we do it.
So these Liberals are now going to seem insincere, not driven by the facts, when they now switch 180 degrees and say net zero must go. I mean, how's that going to seem, especially to the many Australians who treat global warming as a religion and net zero as a holy crusade? Now, of course, I've got it. You know, these guys are going to have all the excuses for once being for net zero. You know, the facts have changed, but then back then we had to agree to net zero. I mean, the public demanded it, so did the media, the ABC would have been crucified. But how ironic, the Liberals were crucified anyway in the very next election, especially by Teal Party candidates who said, no, the Liberals don't really mean it when they say they back net zero. The heart's not in it. And they were right. The Liberals just went along with global warming because they didn't have the guts to argue back. But as I said, cowardice has a price. And now the Liberals are in even more strife, trying to reverse what they once said was great, just like with their nuclear power ban. Yet even now, Liberals on the left are still demanding net zero. They claim, oh, the people want it, we must follow the people. Liberals like Senator Andrew Bragg today prattling inane slogans.
The Australian people expect us to take emissions reduction seriously. They believe in climate change. We believe in climate change.
Andrew, saying, I believe in climate change is meaningless. It's brainless. It's just a religious catechism. It's not an argument. I mean, I also believe the climate is changing. And even I believe that our emissions would tend to warm the planet, but that is not the argument at all. The real argument is whether a slightly warming planet really is a worse one, and whether spending trillions of dollars on just seeming to slow the warming is really worth it. Now, I think the Liberals really must learn the lesson at last. There's always a price to pay for selling their souls to please the Green mob, and especially when reality hits the fan. You fight for reason, or you drown in stupidity.